What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the next video on learning PHP. My name is Danny and you guys watching my channel Wood. Alright, so in the previous video we have completed our login here inside in our index, and we have connected our register, which we changed it to username, first name, last name, email, password, and retype password. And keep in mind, retype passwords we're gonna just test inside our form, and we're not going to put this retype password inside our database. Okay, so we're going to create all these fields here in our phpMyAdmin. So if you're with WIMP, you guys can see here, and there is no password. But if you're with XAMPP, then you guys going to see here the root, and you guys need to put a password. So the password is a password. So if we don't have now, in our case we don't have a password, so we can come here and we're gonna create our database here. So here we have created our register, and we have created our login, and we have connected these two into our index. So our index have now the login, and our index which has a register. So we're going to create the, say for example, the footer later on, but not at the moment. Now we're going to see how we're going to create say for example, are we going to register our user. So what we're going to get from the user from here, username, first name, last name, email, and password, we're going to get it, put it here. We're going to put it in phpMyAdmin, because as a successful PHP programmer, you guys need to know that you guys need to create your database here, and needs to create your table and put whatever records you here. Here you have a username, first name, last name, email, and password. You need to put it here. So, and you transfer the data, whatever you get from the user, you need to transfer it here. That's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to transfer the data. We're going to get all the data, and we're going to, when we register, press register or submit, it's going to go here, because we're going to create the database and we're going to create the table. And next time, if we're going to check the authenticate this one from the user, whatever the data we got it from here, for example in email, we're going to check it with the database, whatever we have it here. Then we're going to say, all right, we're going to check the email and we're going to check the password, then we're going to let the user in. Otherwise, if the user put a wrong email which is not matching this email, which is going to be inside the stores here, then we are not going to let the user in. Otherwise, if the user put it correctly, all the credential okay, then the user can come in inside our website. So first thing first, we need to go, this already explained, the index, then the logins already explained, then the head is already explained. Keep in mind, you guys need to put this one session up, but this session, because this is one is inside the index, inside the head, this head, because we already started the session and we already started say DB here. All right, so if you guys want to check your session, you need to come here and put inspect, and inside the Chrome is also inspect our you guys going to see, say for example, you guys going to check developer mode or something, then you guys need to come here memory, then you guys need to come storage, and here if you look in here, we have a few session ID here. So that's our session ID, which was created by our session here, because we started the session is already started, and we check the DB is connected, which is in here. This DB, it means if there is no connection, tell us, otherwise don't bother, don't annoy us. So that's what it means here. So all set. Now we're going to close this one. We have our session and everything ready. So we're going to put our database here first to begin with. We're going to check our DB, for example. We are going to put a cryo DB. You can put anything else. You can put a XYZ, ABC, whatever you guys like. 1, 2, 3, your name, your friend's name, your family, whatever your mate's name, whatever you wanna put it here. It doesn't matter. So as long as this name here, whatever you guys put it here, this name is also gonna match whatever you're gonna put it here as a database. You guys are good to. You guys should be okay. So we're going to put a CryoDB here, and we're going to create our database. Now this database is going to be connected to this one. So because here or now the PHP knows here that this is the database I'm gonna looking for. So whatever the table you guys gonna put it here as table users, and the user is gonna have all these credential here. So user have a username, first name, last name, password, and email password. Whatever you guys gonna have here is we're gonna put it here, and we're gonna register it. We're gonna put it here. Alright, so first thing first is that when we're gonna create already our database. So I'm gonna close this because this is the job is done here. We have a database by CryoDB. I'm gonna close this one. I'm gonna come here and gonna create a table users, username, first name, last name, email, password, and retype password. So we're gonna come here and say CryoDB. And make sure it says CryoDB here, and we're going to create users. So users, then we're going to check how many are here, how many fields here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We don't put this one retype. We're going to test it inside the PHP whether the user, the password is matching, but we're going to only put one here. We're not going to put all of them. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, including the user ID is 6. So we're going to put a 5 and 6 here, and now our table is created. So now the CryoDB is got the table. CryoDB has got a table users. The first thing is, as I said before, is user ID. Then we're going to put an int 11, and don't forget to put it auto increment CAI, and don't forget to look at this side here. It says primary, because when the user is going to come and register our website, say here, all this whatever the user is going to put here is going to come here. So now we're going to make the fields here for our records for the users. Okay, what is the first one is we're going to check is the first one is username, and we're going to check here is going to be the username. So you want to copy this one. We can put it a little bit closer to each other. So this group's gonna come here, because we're gonna do a little bit clean up with the username, and we're gonna do with the first name. So now we're gonna see here, we put a username. We're gonna paste it, username. What's the username? It's not gonna be int, because the int is only accept the 1, 2, 3 numeric. Because here work hard, because the user can put anything. Say user can put a Michael 1, 2, 3, or Isaac 1, 2, 3, or Azad 1, 2, 3, yes, Danny 1, 2, 3, whatever. So there is going to be work hard, and for example you can put a 250, for example. But in the large website you can't put 250 because our website is closed. Website is small. We can put a 250. You guys need to put a, for example, 100. And after that one is we're gonna come here and we put a first, and we put a name, same, we're going to work hard, and we put a 250, for example, and we're gonna put a last name, and we're gonna put a say work hard, and we put a 250. 250. Then the last one is gonna be email. It's gonna be email. I think that's email. So user ID, username, first name, last name, and it's gonna be email. So username, first name, last name, email, and password. We put email, and email is gonna be say worker, and for the email, for example, we can put a 200, because your email is not going to be that long. And the last one is going to be password. We can leave it int, and you can put a 11, or you can use it worker, because some users going to put a say numeric, alphanumeric. So you guys are going to put a say, for example, Michael 1, 2, 3, or Michael whatever, followed by the numbers. So we can put a worker, whatever you guys are going to think. If it's numeric, say for example user ID It's only going to be numerics like serial number 1 2 3 4. We can put it int 11. With the date of birth, you can leave it int 11. With the selling price, we can put a int 11. Whatever you can put, you think there's going to be the numbers involved, you can put a int 11, but you can't put it with the username, because the user can going to put alphanumeric. And with the first name, the user is going to put exactly the same. With the last name, with the email, is going to be exactly the same. And with the passwords, user is going to put say, for example, Michael 123 or Michael 100 or Michael 2022, for example. That's what the user is going to put. So if you're not sure, you can put in varchar. Just put a varchar, and the passwords we're going to put say, for example, 100. We can do 250 for the passwords as well. So now we're gonna check here. So the users gonna be user ID is gonna be not gonna be null. For example, any of this part you want to put a null, you can put a null, no problem. But if the user left it empty, it means that the PHP is gonna go ahead. But at the moment we are not gonna put a null, because I'm just showing you guys not to put a null. But when you go in real programming, you might put a null. So now we have a database is CorioDB, which is matching this guy here, and it has a table users. Now we're going to work with the table users. So we have a user ID, username, first name, last name, email, and password. And we're going to come here and we're going to close this one. So now we're going to come in your registration, and we're going to put a little bit housekeeping. So we're going to put this one a little bit up, because that's our username. And I'm gonna put this div as well very close, and this div is gonna become close, and this is gonna come close too. Okay, say where it says username, we need to put say, for example, if you put a placeholder and enter username, say when we're gonna come and refresh, we're gonna see our placeholder, enter username. But what if the user put a, say for example, if user put a Joe, we want to make sure the next time user gonna come in, you're gonna see the Joe, because we want to put it as a value for the users. How we gonna put a value, I'm gonna show you in a minute. So here we're gonna put a placeholder, and we're gonna put a enter your first name. Alright, so now we're gonna come here and put a last name, we put a placeholder, put an enter your last name, and it says email, enter your email. So it has a placeholder, and this one has a enter your password, retype your password. So they all has a placeholder. So placeholder, and it's gonna have, now all of them have a placeholder. So how are we going to put a value, for example? And the value, for example, you guys going to come here and says, then you guys need to put another value. But inside the inside the value, you guys need to put a PHP. You can't put a, say, bootstrap or HTML. You have to put a PHP, because we are working with the network. Code is very similar, and we put a if. It's not going to be very long. If is set, if everything is set, what's the set? Because we want a $1 post. You guys should be very familiar by now. And what's the dollar post? For example, say username. Then what happens if everything is set? Then we put echo. What we're going to echo? We're going to put a $. Post. And we put a username. Okay, so now the PHP is going to remember that you guys put this username. So say for example, you guys going to come here and put a Yazdani user, for example. Okay, so now if you press register, the PHP is going to remember this. PHP is not going to forget this. So even if you guys going to do this, the PHP is going to remember this, because they going to see, look, you put this one value, and I'm going to remember this one. So it's very easy. Say for example, we're going to make a testing, a lot of things, debugging, whatever. If you make a mistake, whatever, then every time you're going to come in and you're going to see the username. This makes the programming a little bit easier. And if you copy the value, because we're gonna put this value in every single of our say here, say for example username, we're gonna put a first name, equal, then we put a first name, then we're gonna put a first name. Alright, so now this PHP is gonna come a little bit down, because we're gonna need this PHP now later on. And if you want, you can just get rid of this PHP, because we don't need it at the moment, because we're gonna do exactly the same. PHP is set, and if you're gonna do filter var, and we can use this one on top. Say for example, we can move this one on top, because when you connecting your database, you guys need this one, so with the register. So we're gonna now we're gonna move all our PHPs on top, and we're gonna come here last name, and we're gonna put a last name. Say we put a last name, and this one's gonna be last name as well. So we've done a username, first name, and we've done a last name, and we've done an email. So now we're gonna do email, and we're gonna put a password. We are not gonna do for the password maybe, because we need to test for the password. So we're gonna do email. We're gonna do email. All right. Entering the data is very easy. If you guys don't know, it's very easy, no problem. So now we're gonna test. We're gonna see if we have any error. All good. Here everything is set. We have a placeholder value. Everything is set. Now we're gonna work on say our PHP. All right, the first thing first is we have to make something like an error. If you guys don't put anything inside here, then we're gonna get an error. Or if the server gives the error, then we're gonna check the error, and after that then we're gonna put all our database inside the data. And keep in mind, we need to hash the password. You guys need to hash. You can't just leave it like obvious for hackers. If they're gonna come inside your database, you have to hash it. You're not gonna leave it obvious for the users. Say for example hackers, it has to be encrypted, and I'm gonna show you how. So we're gonna come here and say for example if our server, what's the variable is the request method. If our server is request method, what's the request method? Equal to post. And then what happens if it's equal to post? Then we need to put this database, all the database in. Alright, so now we're gonna see here, as we have seen how to upload a photo and things like that. We're gonna target these guys here. So this is gonna go on the password 1, this is going to be on password 2. So there is a break in between. Retype your password, and we're gonna bring this all very close. And this guy needs to come here very close. So we're gonna target this submit, and we're gonna come here. If is set, we're gonna say if, and we're gonna say is set, and after the $post, we're gonna see $post submit. Then now we're gonna work with our we're gonna make some say for example submit. We have a typo here. Whatever name you guys need to put here, say for example you put it submit, you guys need to put this submit. which one is this submit? This submit is this guy is here, where it says register. This is the button, but it has a, we put internal, that's our internal, outside it says register, but for us this is a submit. So this button is this one, submit. We need to target this one here where it says submit. Then we need to put a variable for all these. Say for example username, we have a variable, and we need to come, now is the time to take these things up. For example, now we need to take this one up, and say for example we're going to put a for a first name, and we need to strip all the PHPs away. So we don't need the PHP, and we don't need these guys as well. We need to put a, say for example first name. Okay, so for example if it says first, is that you guys need to take this, and you guys need to take this, just make it a variable. For example, if it's gonna come here first, we're gonna leave it like that. You can make it first, and now we're gonna need to come here and get the last guys. So we need to put this guy here. We need this guy, we need to copy, because we have used it in the previously. And if you look in here, filter var, we copied this guy here, we copy this one, and we're going to get rid of the list because we don't need. Why we don't need? Because we already putting this is set last name, so we don't need this one. And we're gonna need the emails as well. We're gonna bring this one, and we're gonna put it here, and we're gonna put a first and last. And now we're gonna come here and take this guys here, because that's all variable is all we need. So we're gonna get rid of this as well that we have done previously. So we're looking for a password. We don't have any other PHP here, and we're gonna put it here. So now the 3 is done, and we're gonna create one for the username. Say for example we're gonna come here and we put a user name, and we're gonna do exactly like that. We're gonna put a filter var, because you can filter your username, or you can just put a post username. It's up to you, whatever you guys want to do. But we're gonna do the filter var. For example, we're gonna do say sanitize the string, and here we're gonna put a username. Say username, and we're gonna check if the username is inside our name. That's username, that's fine. That's our first name, that's fine. That's our last name, that's fine. That's our email. You can put a user email, and the type is password, and it's password 1. Keep in mind the name is a password 1. So we have here, we need to put a password 1, for example, and we need to create another one. Say for example we need to put password, and our password is gonna be password hash, because we need to hash this password. As I said to you, there is this inbuilt function inside the PHP that's gonna hash it, and I'm gonna show you shortly. Hash, as previously when I learned, it used to be MD5, and then it used to be SHA-1. That was old times, and now it's gonna be SHA. Now they have invented something called SHA-2, but PHP has its own now inbuilt function which we can use. It's gonna encrypt the password for us, so it's called password hash. And what's the string? Now string is gonna be $post. One. Keep in mind you need to put a 1, because we are only put one of them. We're not gonna put a 2. The reason we put a 2, this second guy here, password 2, is because we want to test this password. But now, because now we're gonna learn how we're gonna transfer this data from here to here. It's not a testing. We're not going to test for the emptiness, or we're not going to test the passwords. We're going to test the basic. Then the basic is how we're going to transfer the data from this form to this MySQL. That's what we're going to learn in this video. The next video we're going to show you guys how we're going to check for the passwords and how we're going to check for everything else. But for this video we need to learn that one. So now we're going to create all our variables. Say we put a username, we put a first name, last name, we put an email, and we put a password. That's all our variables. Keep in mind, you guys need to put your variables, and don't forget the semicolon here. Now we're gonna put whatever we have here, we're gonna put it inside our database. So we put a SQL, and we need to put a double quotation here. I need to put inside. You can put an insert into what, because we're gonna check here, insert into users. We wanna put insert into users, and then what? And then we put a values. What's the values? So it's a two-part. The first one is we're gonna put all of this, say username, first name, last name, email, and password, whatever we put it here, and then we put a value. What is the value? This is always going to be the value. So we're going to put the username. If you put a username, then we're going to put a first name. Alright, so it's a username, first name, last name, and we're going to check here username. We're going to put ID later on. Username, first name, last name, email, and password. So we put a username, first name, last name, email. Make sure everything matches here in password. Make sure whatever you guys put it here is matching here. If you have a typo, it's not going to work. So we can check all of them, and all of them is correct. And what's the values? Now you're going to put the values here. So the values are, you need to put a single quote here, and you need to put a username. Put a username, this value, and then it's gonna be the next one is gonna be first, and then next one is gonna be last, and the next one is gonna be email. It's a good idea if you guys gonna come here and copy one by one, so you're not going to do any typo, because any small typo, say for example we have a username, and we have a mistake here for the username. Any typo like this is going to give you a very long headache. And trust me, if you put a small mistake here, and if it's not working, you guys are going to cry later on. You guys are going to screaming and say, why my query is not working? Is because you guys need to put a word for word. Whatever here is a good idea of PHP programmers copy this one and put it here, so they don't do anything here, because we're going to do first and last and email, and the last one is going to be the password. Maybe if you're going to have a, say for example, error, then we're going to come and check the spelling. Alright, so now that we have put everything here, now we're gonna try to put everything inside, put it all together, put all these variables in here with the MySQL statement query. Then we're gonna put it together. So how we're gonna put it together? And through the, say for example, we put our result, we put a result, because results gonna be consist of this one and this guy is here. So we're gonna put a MySQL I, then we're gonna put a MySQL I query. Make sure it says MySQL I. If it says MySQL and the I is missing, you guys not gonna, because this is the old one. This is the MySQL has finished that one and put a MySQL I. Okay, so MySQL I takes two parameters. The first one is the connection. You guys need to come here and say, for example, this guy here, con. means our connection, whatever, and you guys need to put it here. And the second one is going to be this guy here, the SQL. So the first one is going to be the connection, and the connection is here, con, because this one's got all the information. And the second one is going to be this guy here, the statement that you guys put it here. So this MySQL query is gonna check the connection and it's gonna insert all the data inside the database. And if it didn't happen, for example, inside our DB, we put a MySQL connect error if it didn't happen. So for example, if it gives error, we put hour, we can put a die. We put a die if the connection, there is a connection error of SQL, we're gonna terminate and finish everything. Why die, and we're gonna put a MySQL I, and we put an error, and what's the error? Is gonna be con. If so, there is some problem with the error, then we need to fix up the ID. For example, the user ID, we're gonna say if what? If result, if everything is okay with this one, if everything okay, do good, do here, otherwise else. And else what? Else, you know that you guys PHP programmers by now. Else, it means we are not going to go ahead and we put a location, we put a header just like before. We put a header, and what's our location? We put a location. For example, we're gonna index.php. Okay, even though we put it inside the header as well, location index, but we're gonna put it here. It's because our result is not very good. So what happens if everything is set, then we're gonna set the session. Say for example, we put a session, and what's the variable? The variable is the users. We put a users, and we're gonna assign this email to this session of users. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna put a customer's ID now. As I said, we're gonna put a session, and we put a users ID, and we're gonna check whether it's a user ID. It is user ID. You're gonna look in here, user ID, because we're gonna assign the user ID now. We're gonna put it to our session, and we're going to do MySQL I insert ID. So MySQL I insert ID. It's an inbuilt function inside the PHP, which is going to insert the ID here for you. No problem, you guys don't need to put it here. As soon as you guys going to put it, then the MySQL my PHP is going to create that one for you. So MySQL I insert ID, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna put a con. And where is our con? This guy is here. We're gonna put a con. Keep in mind, you guys need to put a con. Every time the PHP goes ahead, it needs your to verify your connection here, which is this con. You can change it to connection, up to you. But if you don't want to change it, don't change it. But what we're going to do then later on, if everything is good, then we're going to put a header, and then we put a location, then we're going to put a dashboard.php. Because everything is fine, then we want to redirect this one to the dashboard. But if it doesn't work, then we're going to go in the header, and we're going to change this from here. But we want to learn how to put our how to get the data from the user, which is here, and we're going to insert it here. That's what our main aim is. That's what this I want to show you guys. This is the very important part. So that's how we're gonna do that. The first one is and keep in mind we need to look very closely to all the here, all the typos. Whatever typo, if very small mistakes, it's gonna cost you guys your entire day. All right, now we're gonna check if you have any error. So we're gonna check again if you have any error, and if you have error, why we have error. So we're gonna go and check. All right, so now we refresh and all looks good. So the first one is we're gonna put a Yazdani user, for example. Our we can put a Korayo, our Yazdani. And the second one we're gonna put a first name is we put a Quadrat, and the second name we're gonna put a Yazdani, for example. And the email is gonna be, say, abc@abc.com, for example. And the passwords we're gonna do 1 2 3 4 5, and this retype password, even though we don't have, we're gonna put 1 2 3 4 5, and that's about it. And we're gonna go. Looks like all good. We didn't get any error. We're gonna check here, and there is here. And keep in mind that was our first one which we tried, that was inside our server. Keep in mind that before we tried this Yazdani user here, if you remember, here we tried this Yazdani user, but the PHP was also put that one in, but doesn't matter. But this was the second one, is that we here Yazdani. And why this one PHP, remember this one, even though we didn't put any password here, because here we put a value here. Say for example here inside our registration, we are putting the value here, because it's gonna, whatever you guys needs to put it here, it stays there. That's what we put. Whatever we put it there, it stays there. So that's what. Now we have our first name, we have our last name, and we have our email. We can come and edit this one ourselves manually, and say it says Yazdani user, we can put Azad, for example, Azad, and this one we can put a last name, and we put a King. And email, we put a Azad King at abc.com. And don't worry about this password, because password is already hashed. This is what I was talking about. And this is this function here, but this is an inbuilt function for password hash. That's what I said, this one password hash. Even though we put a 1 2 3 4 5, this is converted this one to 1 2 3 4 5. This is 1 2 3 4 5 all the way here. That's what it is. This is a hash. So no one can understand this, and that's why we, when we do 1 2 3 4 5 here, and that's what we're going to. Anyone hack your database, keep in mind, anyone hacks your database, they don't understand this. They don't know what it is, what's the password. No one can do this. But keep in mind, there is another one, SHA-1, SHA-2, there is MD5, and there is salt. There are a lot of there are dozens of other methods of you guys can encrypt your password, but PHP offers you guys password hash. That's a PHP's own inbuilt function, because the guys working hard at the PHP, all the developers that making PHP, they're working hard to create something for you here, password hash. All you guys needs to do password hash, instead of, say for example, you gonna, some people they put a SHA-1, which is deprecated now. Some people use now, they put a SHA-2, and some people they put a MD5. That's a different way of encrypting, and that's people, some put they put a salt. So there's all different ways of encrypting, and but the easiest one is here, because the PHP is going to provide for you. So it's something that PHP is provide for you, and it's very easy. So that's how we're gonna put our data, inside the database. Say for example we're gonna try again. If you guys want to try again, say for example you guys can put a Joe and Joe Biden, for example, Joe, and we can put a Joe President, and we can put a Joe, and we can put a Biden, and we can put a Joe Biden at US president.com, for example. And here, and because we put a varchar, we can put a 1 2 3 4 5, or say Biden 1 2 3. Say I'm going to put a 1 2 3 4 5. And once we register, and we're gonna go here, we're gonna look at this one. This is a refresh. Once you do refresh, this gonna come in, and we're gonna do refresh. Now we're gonna say that our database has increased. Joe Biden, and Joe Biden as that's our password. Whatever you guys gonna put is gonna come here. Say our user ID is incrementing because we put an increment here, and it auto increment here. We have put it auto increment here, and keep in mind here we are just using through our session. If we put an insert ID, MySQL insert ID. So now we're gonna come inside here, and we're gonna put inside here. Say for example, if we comment this for a time being, and we're gonna come here, and for example we're gonna put another guy here, and say for example we're gonna do Donald Trump. That's our fourth user. We put a Donald, and we put a Trump, and we put a Donald at then we put at say for example Trump.com, and the password is gonna be 1 2 3 4 5. Alright, so we're gonna put it here, and look, your enter our dashboard. So when we enter this dashboard, it means you guys can gonna come in. Don't worry about this one, because session start, we need to put a session start here. We are gonna put a dashboard here. Because our session is already started, and that's what our first name, last name, and that's what here, because we have get rid of these guys here, and we put a, say for example, if our registration is successful, then take us to dashboard. Otherwise, if it's not successful, then put it here. Alright guys, that's it for this video. In the next video, I'm going to show you guys what happens if you leave this empty. For example, what happens if the user is going to come here. For example, they don't want to put anything here, and keep in mind we're going to fix up that in the future videos. Don't worry about this. At the moment, we need to understand this, how our we're going to put the data taken from our forms, and put it here. So that's what we're going to put it from here. So if you look in here now, whatever you guys going to put it here, we're going to go to our dashboard when the user is successful. So for example, what happens now, we're going to get to our session here without say there is a safeguard here. But what happens if the user put it something like say this one, leave this one empty, because we don't want the user to put any of these fields empty. And that's our discussion, going to be our discussion for the next video. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe Korayawood. If you guys have any question or comment, leave in the comment box. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video, and bye.